Authorities identified UVA student and former football player Christopher Darnell Jones Jr. as the suspect in this case, appearing, as you just said, inside an Albemarle County courthouse today, virtually via video chat from the jail where he's being held. Now, he was very matter of fact as he spoke and didn't seem to show any emotion as the prosecutor revealed horrific new details about what happened Sunday night. This is the stack of charges of previous animal care and cruelty, all tied to the man authorities believe is responsible. Now, we're not releasing his name just yet because he has not been formally charged in this case. But residents who say they've observed concerning behavior at this property behind me for years now are left wondering why this took so long. You can actually see the bulk of those police cruisers behind me here, just over my shoulder, really focused on this group of homes on Timsbury Circle. But what you're seeing now, and quite frankly, not all of those lights are on at this point, but it is still just a fraction of the response that we saw earlier. If you take a look at this door behind me here, you can actually see a notice on the door which says this branch is closed due to electrical problems. However, if you take a look up at the light here outside the front door, it's clearly on. A spokesperson telling me the actual reason for the branch's temporary shutdown is because of a carbon monoxide leak. The more we learn, the more questions we have. Tonight, hiring documents from Edwards' time with state police revealing he did disclose having gone to a mental health facility in 2016. So, did this trigger further investigation? And if not, should it have? I'm told the goal is actually to lower taxes for homeowners, or at least keep them from going up, with the new businesses and hotels that are built here set to get a portion of what they bring into the county back. Now, as we've been reporting, this site is set to feature the country's largest surf park. Difficult to think about on a day like today, but still at this point, we don't have a timeline for when we'll see that in operation. The major question here, is it legal for landlords to raise rent by tens, even hundreds of dollars in a month? Well, the short answer is yes. As long as it's private housing and there's nothing in the lease specifically against that, landlords in and around Richmond can hike prices up, something legal experts telling me is making a big problem in Richmond even worse. I did speak one-on-one with Police Chief Gerald Smith, and I asked him about the tipster at the heart of this investigation, which again prompted law enforcement officials to investigate an anonymous tip, and how police came to identify Dogwood Dell as the location for this alleged mass shooting plot. Now, the video that you're taking a look at on your screen here shows a rare look at the suspects inside a Richmond courtroom during their last court appearance before those charges were escalated to the federal level. Neither suspect has been charged with a crime specifically related to a mass shooting at this time. Listen in, here is a piece of my interview with Chief Smith asking about probable cause for those arrests. Authorities responded, there were weapons in the home, and we know that both of these now suspects were there, and only one of them was taken into custody. So why one but not the other? That's getting into the specifics of the investigation, and that's one of the reasons why we're talking now, is to make sure that we could put the focus on what needs to be focused on, which is, I think it's misplaced focus, and it's caused this controversy and all these questions, and we are now ignoring the fact that we've prevented a mass shooting. We prevented people from dying. We've prevented people from being shot. We've prevented officers from having to go door to door to do death notifications. And there is a lot of Monday morning quarterbacking taking place and criticism. And that's my job as the chief of police. I take those hits, I take those criticisms. I'm a big boy, I can take it. I just get frustrated, and I think it's rightly so, when we overlooked that this was a win for the city of Richmond. We won the game, and that our officers who actually went out and did great work, and actually when they didn't have PC and didn't lock up somebody falsely, that they still surveilled that person until the PC developed for them to do so. I think it's a great win for the city of Richmond. Yeah, I don't think anyone doubts that this particular instance was. I think the concern is also that same weekend there was still a mass shooting. 6 people were still shot on 4th of July, and no doubt it could have been bigger with this other incident, perhaps at the Dell. But I suppose, what is the update on that investigation, first of all, and was there some strategy here to say, let's focus on this mass shooting that we prevented and not the one that unfortunately did happen? The one that did happen, it was different circumstances.
But let's be honest, that one, there was not a plot or something that was pre-planned that we see in our investigations. That was something that kind of developed, and we are still asking for the public's help in that. If we had the public's help before or after that one that did take place, maybe we could have prevented it by this time. Maybe we could have actually solved that case. So if we compare that to the plot that we stopped on the 4th of July, which I believe then and believe now was the Dogwood Dale, the difference is the public's participation and the public's help in actually calling up with the police and giving us information that helps us to solve those crimes, that helps make Richmond a better place. I think that's the difference between those two incidents. If we had known information before and after, we could have maybe prevented it, or quite possibly we could have actually had it solved by now.
The criminal investigation into Ferry's behavior with high school students in Colonial Heights prompted a special prosecutor to make a report to social services. But when parents went to school officials about their concerns back in May of last year, complaints went unreported to police, and then the clock ran out. Mounting accusations against former Colonial Heights Police Chief Jeff Ferris. Attorneys even saying there is evidence he committed a crime. So why isn't he facing any charges?
Because of Virginia's statute of limitations, they cannot go forward.
8 News legal analyst Russ Stone says it comes down to timing, and that's what letters to and from Colonial Heights officials confirm. Because of the delay in reporting these matters to law enforcement for a criminal investigation, we are beyond the statute of limitations.
It doesn't mean that something didn't happen. It just means that the law prevents them from actually pursuing it right now.
Officials say it started sometime in early 2021. Accusations against Ferris in his capacity as the girls' softball coach at Colonial Heights High School reported to the principal and athletic director.
A coach in some respect at the high school who also voiced some concerns.
Colonial Heights City Attorney Hugh Chip Fisher telling 8 News those accusations included that of inappropriate touching, text messages, and exchanges on social media. Special prosecutor on the case, Bethany Harrison, says school officials were made aware of complaints of inappropriate conduct by May of 2021. But it wasn't until February of the following year that city council members say they knew about the allegations around the time that Ferris resigned as softball coach.
We uncovered more facts at that time that the school system did not know about. We relayed those facts to the state police.
On March 2nd, Hughes says the city manager placed Ferris on administrative leave and requested access to his city-issued iPad and phone, but it took several attempts.
He never gave us that password to his phone, so we could never access his cell phone to see what specific communications might have been on there. The captain and acting chief Ruxer picked up the iPad, which was on the porch of the chief's residence, and determined that the iPad had been wiped and put on factory settings.
The next day, March 3rd, a state police spokesperson says they were asked to launch their investigation. By the end of that month, then Police Chief Ferris submitted his resignation letter to city officials, stepping down as Colonial Heights' top cop. By mid-September, emails among city officials and the special prosecutor showed there was evidence of a crime. Fisher wrote to Harrison, "There is evidence that former Chief Ferris committed a misdemeanor or misdemeanors, but that the statute of limitations has expired, thus foreclosing your office from prosecuting him for those crimes." She responded, "Your interpretation is correct." By October 4th, the Virginia Department of Criminal Justice Services decertified Ferris, pending appeal.
That decertification comes about as a result of the fact that the Department of Criminal Justice Services has concluded that his resignation was related to these accusations. And it practically means he cannot be a police officer somewhere else.
For now, Fisher says the case is closed, but if more evidence is uncovered or there's reason to believe that a felony happened, that could change. Now, the day after Ferris was decertified as a police officer, the special prosecutor on this case sent another letter to the city manager addressing concerns about whether school officials violated mandatory reporting requirements. Harrison believes, based on what they knew at the time, they were not obligated to report to authorities as the accusations had not yet risen to the level of creating the suspicion of child abuse or neglect. City Councilwoman Dr. Laura Poe also tells me she hopes they'll be able to restore the honor and integrity of the police department under their new chief.